Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday Sessions podcast. This may be your first time viewing or listening to this, as it's our first episode on YouTube. But it's not our first episode, so make sure you go listen to the earlier episodes.
12 early episodes.
Was I speaking?
12 early.
Was I speaking?
We got 12 early.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, podcasts. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we've got 12 earlier episodes. We've got Chad from Anything for Views. Chad from Cold Ones. He's a guest. Go listen to that. Dyson Daniels. That's right. NBA superstar. And anyway, so this is the podcast that does this.
Sunday Sessions.
The Sunday Sessions podcast, where we help you cure those Sunday blues, Sunday anxieties you might be having. Because let's be honest, you probably made some pretty shit decisions over the weekend, and so did we. So let's cure this anxiety together. I am 1/3 of your co-hosts, DOWLO. I make vids, and I have even mates, and two of them are joined with me today.
Yes, they are. I'm Ben. I'm 2/3 of this podcast, and I've went and bought myself a new shirt specifically because I knew this was going to be filmed. So I'm feeling good, and I'm looking
better.
Thank you.
I am Henry, and I'm 3/3 of this beautiful podcast. And even though it is dry July, I'm smashed.
Well, yeah, just to
Can
put the cat out of the... No, you can't. We actually recorded... this is our first time recording a full-length video podcast because one guy messaged us and said, you should probably do it. And we're like, fuck it, that guy's probably onto something. So we're doing it. But we did one last week, and we fucked it. We fucking... One of the cameras...
We fucked it?
All right, producer Zach fucked it. So everyone, message him on Instagram, Zach Ryan, say you fucked it.
Send your best hate mail to him.
No, we can't say that. It's YouTube. They'll take it down. Anyway, producer Zach fucked it. One of the cameras cut out, so this was our first actual. This is our first actual live video one. So
so welcome.
If you're listening on Spotify, don't come watch the YouTube version. Because we get paid AdSense money for it, so come and do that.
Also finish the podcast on Spotify and then watch the video form.
Just listen to it every time.
Yeah, have it on repeat.
So I just wanted to throw a thought out there because I'm fucking up and about. I was watching John Wick the other night, John Wick 4.
You just yourself?
Just myself? Nah, well, I was watching it with Zach and Ben, and we had previously, like the day before that, we watched Extraction.
Every night we're watching a different
action movie.
Yeah, have you seen it?
I've seen a bit of it.
Oh,
I think I've seen the trailer. I mean, I don't think I've seen the
so
actual full movie.
So you know it's a movie. But
I know it's a movie. Yeah.
Yeah, you know it exists, but you haven't seen it.
Okay. Well, let me just paint this picture for you.
Well, I know Paris exists, but I haven't been there. That's like saying
exactly.
Yeah, I've been. I know it exists.
Yeah.
I've been to Paris.
Yeah, well, listen to this. It's pretty much, this is the picture I'll paint for you. Chris Hemsworth, big, strong Aussie boy with big arms, and he's slaughterating, fucking just killing in very, very fucking fun and different ways, heaps of people. He's in India for the first one, and there's lots of slaughterations. In the second one, spoiler for anyone, he kills someone with a fucking leg press at the gym.
And it's a great kill.
It is wet. And I was watching it with the boys, and we were just sitting around watching it, like actually cheering out loud, like going, "Yes, fuck!" We rewinded a scene because he killed this kid, and we fucking rewinded it to watch it again
because it was so good. He
Like,
picks
that's
up this kid, like picks him up and just throws. Not Chris Hemsworth. This like the villain of the story, picks up this kid and just throws him off a building.
Throws him off a building,
and it shouldn't be funny. But we rewind it because it's so.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, mate,
it's just like fucking. It's like Chris Hemsworth is just on meth and Bundy cans, and he's at the local footy, and someone's just called his missus ugly, and he's just king hit after fucking king hit, and we're just like sitting there watching, and I was looking at me and Zach and Ben, just actually getting up, standing up, clapping, like going, "Whoa!"
guys will get into like the shittest movies if there's a little bit of action in it.
Like, no, we were saying you don't need a fucking good storyline. I don't even know I don't care about the storyline. It's shit.
Yeah, if a kid's getting thrown off a building, you're watching it.
But like the action is so good that I'm like, every single boy, no matter what movies you're into, if you're a boy who's into fucking cartoons or The Notebook, you still, if you are a boy into that, like just action, high action, like death scenes.
In Extraction as well, it's so like the story's elite and the action scenes are so they're all like one take, and you feel like you're there. They fucking do them that well.
When he blasts someone away with a shotty, you're just it's like, oh, that's nice.
It's like, you know, in a dream where you can just do no wrong and just like going through killing everyone.
Yeah.
It's
Unlimited
like that.
It's like he was playing GTA and he just had the unlimited stamina, unlimited health cheat on, and he was just going around with like fists and everyone was shooting him and he was just knocking everyone out.
Yeah, him and John Wick would be a great fight.
Yeah, oh yeah. I reckon he'd have John Wick though, to be honest.
Really?
Just because he's so like more jacked.
Yeah, but think about how many people John Wick has like fucked up.
Go watch
Mate,
Extraction.
Go watch Extraction. There's like this scene in the second one where we also rewatched, where he's in this like Russian prison and he's got to get across the yard, but all the prisoners are like rioting, and he just fucking goes there and he murders everyone. There's this bit where his arm catches on fire. And he's just punching blokes with this.
It's like King,
his
right
arm is
King
on
here.
fire, and he's just punching people
Yeah.
with his arm that's on fire, and like
Fuck.
setting them on fire.
All right, well,
My sister came round and we replayed the scene for her, which we were going nuts at this scene. We're all like, yes, oh my God, this is sick. And Katie went and watched it and she was just like, yeah, it's nothing special. And I was just thinking, if you showed this scene to any boy ever,
yeah, they'd be like, that's so cool.
or like if somehow you wrangled up every boy in existence, put them in a cinema that could fit fucking 4 billion people, and then showed them Extraction 2, and they got out, and you lined them up one by one in like a police interrogation room, so they couldn't know what the other person said. And they're like, what did you think of the movie? And they were like, loved it. Every single boy would say loved it.
Yeah.
And then if they said why, every boy in the interrogation room would have the same fucking answer. And it would be this.
Scene.
Because it's fucking sick.
All right, well, I'm going to watch it. One or two? Which one's better?
Both. Just watch them
Watch
both.
your both.
I'll watch one.
I think one's better,
Yeah.
but 2 has moments that are better than
Okay.
one.
I'll watch both of them before next week, and we can have a discussion about it.
All right. Well,
do it.
next week we fucking do your homework and we'll
Yeah.
get into it. All right. Moving on from that, we put the onus on our audience last week to send in some good travel stories. After the week before, you just sent in dog shit.
Yeah.
And
it was
a couple of them have actually done all right this week. So I think producer Zach is going to read out some of the best ones. So well done.
Producer Zach,
to
again,
these
the guy
people.
who fucked up the last recording.
Where would you be without me? Who would be
Probably
controlling
number
these
one on
cameras?
Spotify.
Yeah, probably. I don't have a bunch. I just have one really good travel story that's an audio message.
Ah, fuck yeah.
I should be connected, hopefully. This is from Ed Beanie. Okay.
Should we just
Venus.
say Ed?
Nah, Ed Beanie.
No, Ed Beanie. I mean,
What if he doesn't want anyone to know?
He wants people to know.
Okay, Ed Beanie, everyone knows.
All right. Is it?
So November 2022, I was coming off the end of a 5-6 month holiday with my mates around Europe, and we have decided to hit up Egypt at the end of it. So we're in Cairo, having a good as time. Everything's all sweet. And then one night, me and my mate decided to go get a tattoo, even though all the things you hear about not getting a tattoo in what could be considered a third world country. So we did lots of our research.
So first of all, I thought that was relevant because Ben came back from Bali last week with 3 tattoos.
Yeah.
And
Ed, get your funny up.
that was that was a situation where it panned out for the better.
Oh, one of them got infected.
One of them got infected, but
But think about how many people you've attracted into your life
Yeah.
since having them.
Yeah, I'm tatted up.
overall it's fine. I actually think maybe you should press play on this.
Yeah, all right, playing again.
We were also a bit wary, did our research, found this one place. It seemed really legit, looks legit, get it done. The design's really cool, everything's all sweet. So we put on a second skin and we're on our way. As time went on, it just got absolutely worse, just so much worse than what it was originally. So my mates later that night are like, we're going to a bar, do you want to come? And I just think, like, look, I'd love to, but I'm just on my head about this. I need to get it fixed. So I stay home and I turn to Reddit. And I post on Tattoo Advice, and within about 30 minutes, it's the #1 trending post. It has hundreds of comments and reacts, all saying the same thing, like seeking.
Always a good thing to look up your symptoms on Google.
Yeah.
Because you'll be like, oh, I've got a sore elbow. And then you look it up on Google, like,
And you've got cancer.
you need to kill your family and then kill yourself. Like, it's not gonna work out.
All right, I think I made a video about that. It's like, I got a bit of a head cold. And he's like, oh, yeah, you've got testicular cancer. I'm a chick.
So So I just think, fuck, okay, I need to go to a hospital right now. So I order an Uber and it takes me there. It's about 10 kilometers from where I was staying. So we get there and I look out the window and there's just hundreds of people all surrounding this one gate trying to get in. I get out of the car and I just think to myself, what the fuck? Like, what do I do here? There's just hundreds of people outside this gate. So I whip out my Australian passport and start screaming and waving my white privilege. I push my way to the front and just start saying, like, I'm Australian, please help, please help. These armed guards look at me up and down and grab my passport from me and they take it away. So I'm just like, fuck, my passport's just been stolen from me. And then what appeared to be like an army officer, all the badges, everything looking very legit, came out and just looked me up and down and was like signaling, like, what is wrong with you? I just pointed my tattoo, like, please help, please help. So he grabs me and pulls me inside of the gate and then closes it off to all these other people. So I just think, oh, how lucky am I? I get escorted by 4 armed guards.
Where do you reckon this is going to go?
I reckon he's going to get his arm amputated or something.
No.
Imagine he's like, how lucky am I? And then they're just like, you have to execute this person. Or make it do some like...
Kill him. You're the king that we've been waiting for.
He's just got this. There's an Ed Beanie who's like the long lost king who's like been waiting to come back. Yeah. And then it's like, you're Ed Beanie. And he's like, no, I'm not. Like, well, it says it here on your passport.
Where do you reckon it's going to go?
Sex party. It's always a sex party. I reckon it's underground sex party.
Sweet.
And they're looking for an Ed.
And when I walked in, I was shocked. Like, people were screaming, lying on the floor.
Sex party.
Just like blatant horror, like an attack had just happened and everyone just ran to this hospital. So I was taken into this police box where I sat at the table with 8 police officers all passing on my passport and laughing at me. And this went on for about 10 minutes. I'm just like, what have I gotten myself into? So next thing I know, this doctor walks in. They're all pointing at me. He's pointing at me. Everyone's just pointing at me. I'm the centre of bloody attention. They take me into the hallway with 2 armed guards and this doctor and these 2 little nurses who barely spoke English. Now, these are the first people that actually spoke English that I've run into at this hospital. And they tell me that I need to go to the burns victim unit. So if the alarm bells aren't already going off in my head right now, they are buzzing right now. So I get in this elevator, still not in control of my passport with the armed guards, and they take me to the 8th floor. I keep asking them to give me my passport back, but they just absolutely refuse. So the doors open and there is not a single person in sight. Lights are flickering and floorboards have been torn up. It looked like an apocalyptic horror movie or something. So I thought to myself, I'm about to get harvested or get sold into sex trafficking. But what can...
Sex party.
He's about to get sold into some sort of sex, and it's a party.
do. So I'm taken into this room with about 6 non-English speaking doctors, and they all come in and look at me, start flicking my tattoo, examining it, and I'm just regretting every decision I've made in my life at this point. And then one of them walks in with this massive needle and a bottle of just some liquid and prepares to inject me with it. They tell me to pull my pants down, and I just stand up like, nah, just give me my passport.
If this isn't a fucking sex party, I'll be baffled.
I'll leave, like, I'm done, like, I don't know what's going on anymore. As I'm doing this, just this doctor who was Lebanese, who did some study in the UK and then now is now in Egypt, barges in, starts screaming at everyone, telling them to get away from me, like, and he's like, you're okay, but he's in English, and then he starts yelling in Egyptian, like, get away from me, everyone, stand back. So he grabs me and pulls me out of the room and just starts saying, like, where is your passport? What have you told them? Tell me everything I need to know. So I'm just like, oh, that man has my passport, this and this has happened, like, just everything that's happened to this point. He goes and yells at the man for about a minute and gets my passport back for me, thank God. And then he just tells me, like, you can't listen to anything they're saying. They're going to try to sell your passport or they're going to try to get money out of you for it. And he just tells me, okay, like, everything's going to be okay, just follow my instructions. So he tells me to take this injection, which was a different injection to what I was going to get. He says what they were going to give me wouldn't have done me any help. So I get the injection in my arse, which was a whole different experience in itself. And at this moment, I'm just like, fuck it, we roll. Whatever you say, I'm doing. Like, I trust you. And honestly, this man quite frankly saved me, so I owe so much to him. And then because my phone had died halfway through, so I actually couldn't text anyone or tell anyone where I was, so he actually ordered the Uber for me to my hostel.
Oh, what a king.
If he even at that point, I would have been stuffed. I wouldn't be able to get home. So I get back to my hostel room, and my mates come back from the bar, and they just ask me, like, what I did that night, like how was it? And I just give them the most blatant stare, just like, oh my God. But yeah, that's my first ever tattoo story from last year in Egypt, Cairo. So probably the last time I'll be doing that, but definitely a good experience.
Damn.
Oh, well, way to fucking one-up me from Bali.
What the fuck?
That
so
was
cool.
insane.
Yeah. Imagine he looks at that tat and he's like, oh, Mm-hmm.
What? Imagine if
Imagine
that
his mates
fucking
came
bloke
back like, oh, where were you? And he's like, you wouldn't fucking believe it.
Imagine if the bloke, the British guy, didn't come in.
Yeah.
That'd
What do
be
you reckon
fucked.
the injection was?
Oh, probably like saline. Like it wouldn't have done anything. Or if like they knocked him out or something, then he woke up with no clothes on at a sex party.
So I was kind of right. Jeez,
That is
that's
fucked up.
I'm never going to fucking Egypt.
It'd be cool to go.
Nah, well, one of my mates spent like fucking 6 months there recently, and he was telling me that there's this scam. There's heaps of fucking scams and shit they run.
Yeah, at the pyramids and shit.
There's one where they like the taxi drivers or the Uber drivers or whatever, they're like in on it, and you get an Uber and they're taking you somewhere, but they just drive you out into the middle of the desert, and then they're like, if you want, then they have like camels, and they're like, if you want it fucking to get back to the city, like it's like how much they charge you, which is whatever they want. So you have to like pay them all this money just to get back to the city. And then there's another one where Sam was saying that they like throw live babies to you because it's your human instincts to like, you're obviously going to catch it. And then when you catch it and you're holding it, they like rob you.
Ah.
And I was like, fuck me. What if you just didn't catch the baby?
No, I think
about that kid.
the baby's on like a band or something, so it comes back. So they like go to throw it and then it comes back to them, but you're holding like cameras and shit and you drop it to like go to catch the baby. I remember hearing about that somewhere.
Like
Someone
if you're
told me
holding
about
a camera.
Yeah.
Fuck. They get ya.
Don't they?
They don't miss you over there.
I would just step out of
Why
the way.
why don't you just go to fucking get a tattoo at Melbourne Tattoos?
That's a fucking great story to have though, like for the rest of your life.
Do you think he'll ever get a tat again? Like, imagine that's your first tat you've ever gotten. That's your first experience getting a tattoo.
I wonder what happened for it to get so fucked.
It's probably just like dirty needles or something.
Or like swimming.
It's probably something to do with like the pyramids.
Probably the aliens, I'd say.
Yeah.
I wonder if his mate's one got infected. Imagine if he just got the short straw. He's like, yeah, I just got infected, and then I nearly got
short straw, but
abducted.
great fucking
I
story.
nearly got abducted in a fucking Egyptian hospital, and then his mate was like, oh, mine's fine.
Okay, so we've got this is a fucking. I don't know why we're going back to producer Zach after his multitude of fuck ups, but Zach, it's in the itinerary that Zach has a would you rather for us. So Zach, hit me.
Wait. Shout out Ed. That was a fucking great story.
shout out
Ed, that's a great story.
and
And
if-
Zach, I saw Zach's reply to him. He's like, "Oh, Ed, this is great. This will do. Cheers or something like this." Yeah, mate, that was fucked.
it's because he sent me a much longer version and I got him to shorten it down.
Oh, did he send a long version of that?
Yeah.
Was there anything we missed?
Not really. It was just
Machine guns and sex parties?
yeah.
It was a fucking sex party.
So old Ed can spin a yarn.
Good on you, Ed. If you're ever in Melbourne, you see any of us four on a night out,
Don't talk to us.
Ask
Show us
us.
the tattoo.
show us the tat and I'll buy you a beer.
So if anyone else to our audience has stories like that or something similar or something better, fucking send it in because you'll get your voice and shout
Obviously,
out on the
you
podcast.
can tell that
so-
that's real.
Yeah.
That's a man who lived it and it's in his mind.
And obviously, he's still got PTSD because all the voice breaks he had. It was bringing up all past
And then we went to the
emotions.
sex party.
All right, let's not
shout
pull
out
it.
Shout out, Ed. You're a king.
Yeah. Yeah, so the would you rather, this was sent in by Luke Edmonds, and this is a good would you rather. Just a short one. Would you rather every drink you have to be poured and drank out of a dog bowl, so you can't use glasses, or you can't use cutlery to eat, hands only, for the rest of your life?
Wait, so I have to drink every drink out of a dog
Dog
bowl?
bowl.
Out of a dog bowl?
100%.
Or eat only
Dog
with
bowl.
your hands?
Dog bowl.
Can you use chopsticks?
What?
Can you use chopsticks? I
No.
thought you
He
meant
just
cutlery like
said-
knife and fork.
Hands. He just said everything you have to
Hands
eat was with
only.
your hands.
I think I might choose hands and just always eat
Fuck that.
burgers.
Dog
Oh
bowl.
no, yeah. I'm eating with my hands.
Yeah,
What do you think
no,
they did
'cause-
back in the day? I don't want
yeah.
to fucking go to the pub, get a pint, pour it into a dog bowl, and go.
Yeah, literally.
Like how you even
Think about you're at the footy, you get a beer.
Yeah, that's funny and cool. You'd be known as the guy
Yeah,
with the
no,
dog bowl.
you wouldn't though. You'd just be.
That
what
fucking
the fuck is
creep,
that
yeah.
Yeah,
creep
and
doing?
just like drinking out of it. You could,
Yeah, but
you could be able to
think-
scull it.
you-
He's
Imagine
got-
you go to an important business meeting, like, all right, beers all round or shots all
Yeah,
round. You're
but
like, yep.
then
just
again,
gotta put it
imagine-
in my fucking dog bowl.
True, I didn't think about driving because imagine putting a coffee in your car while you're driving or
But
something.
also
That would be
imagine like
annoying.
you're at a business dinner and you get spaghetti and you have to fucking.
Yeah, pasta. Eating pasta with your hands.
I'd say that I'm
soup.
gluten free.
How are you ever gonna eat soup again?
Like this, same as the fucking dog bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why is the dog bowl so bad then? Why is it so bad if you can eat soup like that?
What about like spicy ramen, like hot ramen
Yeah.
noodles?
Well, you do. That's the one thing.
just
You gotta
wouldn't
wait
eat
for your
it.
food to cool down.
I guess you just wouldn't eat it. You wouldn't eat shit like that.
I'll just eat steaks and shit. I'd be Joe Rogan. I'd be like,
what about like an ice cream or something? You couldn't not use cutlery for that. Sorry. Continue, Zach.
No,
Or is that it?
Yeah.
Only one.
There's only one.
No.
Yeah.
add that to the list.
Do you like
Okay,
sex?
so have I had sex?
Yeah.
I think
What is sex?
maybe.
Like, what even
What
is
is
it?
sex? There is someone that we
I've
could.
got so many I've got so many sextions about Quest.
Do you actually have a lot of?
You can ask me a couple, but I don't know.
Do you have a lot of
answers to
sex
stuff.
questions?
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't have anyone to ask.
If
them.
only we knew someone to ask.
Guys, do I have the best opportunity? There's a sexologist.
This sounds like a pyramid scheme.
Are we
There's
going to a sex party?
Yes.
Call
but
Ed.
after this.
Call Ed.
I have a sexologist outside.
Outside here.
Here.
Oh my! Bring her in.
What's it? What?
Her name's Emily from the That's Orgasmic podcast.
No.
Yeah, you've seen it.
All right, I'm gonna shut my eyes, and if in 3 seconds I'm not on that side of the table and she's not sitting where I am, then I don't believe it. Yeah, so guys, we also have a very special surprise for you today. You probably didn't see this coming, but we have a very special guest with us, our 3rd ever guest of the podcast and our 1st ever female guest. She's, like me, an expert in sex. The technical term I've just been illuminated to is sexologist, but I think sexpert, anything you want. Sex expert, anything you want. She's the host of That's Orgasmic on Spotify, and I'm assuming anywhere you listen to podcasts, so make sure to go give that a listen. Emily Duncan.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome. How you doing?
I'm great. How are we?
Very well. Look, first of all, I've got a lot of questions, but I'm just going to kick us off. What, for those, myself included, who are very, I have no idea what this could even mean. What's a sexologist? What do you do? How do you become a sexologist? What qualifies someone as that? And what kind of things do you need to, know to get that title?
I guess it depends who you ask. The guys on TikTok think I'm a mega hoe. Got that one the other day.
Is that like a comment someone's put?
Yeah.
Wow.
They
Did you
hate
respond
me.
to it? What'd you say?
Yeah, I made a whole TikTok. I was like, absolutely. I went to uni for 4 years just to become a mega hoe. Had to learn all the history, all the tips and tricks.
So this is a full degree, like a uni subject.
Yeah, I didn't just go out on the streets and pick this up.
Because that was what I was saying. No, because I was genuinely thinking, I was like, is this something that you just learn in the real world and then you're like, all right, I'm now an expert?
Yeah, literally a mega hoe. No.
What's the uni course that you?
So first I did an undergrad in psych, and then I did a graduate diploma in sexology. So
So
basically
you're
nearly a
psychoanalyzing
master's.
us all.
Yeah, literally as soon as I walked in the door when you were late, I was like, these traits.
We
not
failed.
good.
We failed all of our little tests.
Do you find that actually happens? Like when you study psychology, that you look at people and you just can't stop psychoanalyzing them?
No.
Oh,
No.
okay, good.
No, it's not especially the undergrad, because it's more sciencey. So basically as a sexologist, what I do now is basically sex therapy, and sex coaching for individuals and couples. But other sexologists do more education. Really kind of depends on what your background's in. But because I had the psych, I did therapy.
So is it is the course when you do it, is it mostly female, male? What kind of is it a popular course?
Is growing in popularity. There was 90 of us when I did it, when I went through, which had grown 30 from the year before, they said. And there was one guy in my class who was there consistently throughout them. There was 1 or 2 others that did just a unit, but only one, and then 98 chicks.
So
and also non-binary people as well.
Yeah.
Oh. So you obviously do TikTok and social media and stuff. But do you you said you do couples therapy and stuff, is that in person or?
So currently online, looking to do it in person, but I'd have to wait until I had enough clients to justify doing it. But yeah, generally just online at the moment.
So is it you get a license and so you have to have a license to do it? You can't just, Henry can't just open up his own sex advice shop and give people advice. He has to have done a degree.
So technically you can. It's an unregulated title at the moment.
Yes.
But I'm you can call yourself a sexologist. But I'm a member of the Society of Australian Sexologists. So you wouldn't be able to become a member.
Do they have parties and stuff?
They have like dinners and stuff. I think they do. I haven't been to any because
you gotta go.
Yeah, I should, but I don't know. I just haven't.
Circling back to sex coaching, when you said that, it's just because I'm immature, but I just like imagined you
Like
in a
sex
room
positions.
like with a whistle, and you're like faster.
The whip's out.
Like in a corner in a boxing ring.
Coach, what do I do? What do I do?
I don't think I can do it anymore.
No, but what does that look like, and how does that work for you?
Yeah, so basically when I see clients, we look at their presenting issue because normally they're coming to me because they've got like a problem or something they need help with. And then looking at all of their sexual history and providing them like tools and support to be able to really like cultivate sexual wellness. So I see people for a whole range of different things like sexual pain, if you struggle to orgasm or have never orgasmed, erectile difficulties, like if you can't get hard or struggle to stay hard, performance anxiety, if you want to look at different like kinks, relationship dynamics, your sexuality, gender, like there's literally everything you can think of when it comes to sex and stuff that you probably wouldn't even think that relates to sex.
Have you ever had someone come in with an issue that you're like, I honestly don't even know how to help you, mate? Like, that's just so far gone from my... Like, I have no idea what to tell you.
You're just fucked.
No, I haven't. Because most of the time, because we aren't given sex education and the proper like knowledge and tools in the first place, it's generally stuff that with a bit of education and like push in the right direction, you're good to go.
Is it ever anything like... like someone comes in and they're like, I can't find someone to have sex with me. Like, what do I do? Or is it more just like problems with sex?
Generally issues with sex. I haven't had anybody come to me with that yet. It might like happen in the future. But if anything, it's more they want to explore their sexuality and they're not sure. It's not necessarily like there's not people who want to have sex with them. It's just they don't know the right places to go to find the right people for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right.
I think like when you say your title, like sexologist or sexpert, a lot of people would probably be like, think of really extreme stuff that people would be coming to see you about. But it's a pretty taboo topic. So is everyone that's coming to see you, it's just like sort of normal, like everyday stuff, but they just don't have anyone to talk to about it?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I look at it and see it as like normal everyday stuff, but most of the time it's been because it's been around like pleasure and sexuality. So like their desire, like one person in a couple desires sex more than the other. So they're big problems for them and their relationship, but they're not, I guess, like, you know, these really big, strange things that we've never seen before. Most of us will experience it. It's just whether it's distressing enough to get help.
So what would like what's an example of something you might suggest to someone who is in a relationship where they have like a significantly less sex drive than the person they're with? Like what's kind of, because in my mind, not being a qualified sexologist, I would think I honestly don't know. So what would your advice be to like a couple like that?
So first things first is you need to kind of sit back and reflect and look at why you're not desiring sex, and also we make the assumption that it's always the person who has the lower desire that's got the like problem, whereas sometimes it's actually the other person who has a desire that's just way too high that's going to work within the current relationship dynamic. So you both kind of have to go and reflect and look at your desire, what you want, and first look at like if anything's changed, because obviously if you've had a desire where it matches up and now it doesn't, like have you had a child, do you have a stressful job, like is there something that's actually changed within your relationship? And then it's communication. You literally can't not talk about this stuff like with your partner, so communicating and then finding ways to kind of meet in the middle. So like, do you have to schedule sex, which doesn't sound really sexy, but like you can make it better. It's kind of like if you like plan a date night and you it just, you know, you can build suspense, you can start sexting like throughout the week or whatever. But do you think that could
also lead to a problem of like if a couple scheduled it and then for whatever reason one of the two parties weren't keen that like night, it could lead to like, and say that happened multiple times, it could lead to what's the word I'm thinking of, resentment potentially. So that's why you got to communicate, and it's also
it's got to be consensual. You can't be like, we're having sex on this date, you have to do it. I think it's more just putting the intention there and then feeling it out. Otherwise, it's taking sex off the table altogether. Like if it's something where it's really distressing for a couple and they're like, one person is just really just not wanting to, but they're now like lacking intimacy. So like one partner's like, don't touch me, don't try and, you know, have a shower with me or cuddle me on the couch because I think you're going to try and make a move on me. Taking sex off the table, building the intimacy back up, and then doing activities such as like sensate focus. So this is an activity where you spend like 15 minutes touching all over your partner's body apart from like their genital like areas, and just seeing how it feels, not trying to like arouse them, and just getting back into your body and then swapping, doing it to the other partner.
I feel like I've seen that on Too Hot to Handle.
Yeah, probably.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Where they have like the paints and they do all that stuff where they're like,
oh
having
yeah,
sex,
yeah,
but they're not.
yeah. So how do you get into, like, what made you want to do that course?
Chlamydia. When I was 18, I got chlamydia for the first time, and I was like, fuck, what do I do? I had a boyfriend at the time, and I was like, I don't know how to talk about this. Like, this is really like taboo. I'm the first one to get it out of all of my friends. And I just kind of realized the more that I looked into it, the more I realized I just didn't know. And I was like, if I don't know this, like no one knows this. And then I obviously had a conversation with my boyfriend at the time about it. And then we didn't have any follow-up conversations. So then I contracted it again because they didn't get treated properly. And then that turned into pelvic inflammatory disease and I had to have surgery. It was just like this big debacle. And that just led to me looking more and more into like sexual health, like sex positive accounts on Instagram and stuff like that. Found sexologists, and I was just like, I want to be a part of this like sex positive movement that was really happening, and wanted to educate people so that they, if they, not even to not get yourself in the same situation, because the reality is most of us going to contract an STI in our life if we're sexually active, but more like how to deal with that afterwards.
I think definitely everyone has like a very everyone has this view and like demonizes STIs so much, whereas it's like the reality is most people get them. Like they're a lot more common than everyone thinks. Well, and I feel like that it's good that you're kind of
breaking the stigma.
Yeah, 100%. It's like 1 in 2 under 25 contract an STI, but honestly, it's probably higher than that because like there's STIs that they don't test for, like herpes. You don't actually get tested for unless you have symptoms, even if you ask for a full screen. So there's a lot more going around than what we think there is.
So half of you guys listening probably have
half, if not more. Honestly.
If not more,
probably more.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, go get fucking checked.
Yeah,
because you need to, and you're dirty.
This is a complete.
We don't use the word dirty.
You're not dirty.
This is a complete change of subject. But have you been watching The Idol?
The Idol,
the TV show on
no,
HBO.
I don't even know what that
you
is.
Haven't seen it?
Lily Rose Depp and The Weeknd.
Okay, no, I haven't seen it.
So
there goes that segment.
So basically, well, because it still makes sense. So basically, there's this show called The Idol, and it's got Lily Rose Depp, and she plays a singer,
like a pop star.
Yeah. And then The Weeknd's character is like this
manager guy.
Yeah, like agent dude, and he's kind of. I also haven't seen it. This is just from Zach. He is like their whole relationship is very like 50 Shades of Grey-esque, and it's half the show's kind of a good storyline, and the other half is just this ridiculous like fantasy 50 Shades of Grey that's like over the top and cringe and weird, and everyone's hating on the show and saying like it's good when they're not doing that, but it's kind of just being ruined by this. I was just wondering if you had like a stance on shows kind of like The Idol that you haven't seen, but like 50 Shades of Grey, or kind of things that like
portray sex a certain way.
Yeah, how it's they're portraying it in this like kind of odd way to me. But what's your kind of opinion on that, and how do you think that affects people that might end up coming to you for advice?
It does 2 things. One is positive in that it is bringing a conversation forward and getting people curious about things, and anybody who's a part of the kink community, I guess, normalizing that a bit more. But then on the flip side, when it's not an accurate representation and it's missing really important parts that the kink community actually engage in, then it kind of does them a disservice. Also, you can't just watch a show like that and then you know, go home and whip out these, you know, whips and chains and shit and do that on your partner when you actually have no experience. A lot of people who are part of like the kink community go to workshops, have mentors, are really trying to do it in the safest possible way, or all aware of like aftercare boundaries, stuff like that. So it can be harmful in the sense that people just kind of go and, you know, try all these new things, which is great, but they're not doing it necessarily in the safest way, which I feel like you can see with like 50 Shades. It's kind of like unrealistic in the way that they go about it. Like, it's not how you would actually practice it in real life.
See, that's interesting because I never would have thought that people would go to workshops and stuff like that. I thought it was just kind of like some people are into that, and they just happen to.
I always thought it was just people figured their own stuff out. Like that, of course you do, but like I didn't know you'd go to workshops and shit. So what does that look like?
There's a whole world out there. There's like workshops. There's literally like kink colleges that like travel the world and do stuff. Like when I went to
kink university, so you can go like Swinburne or like, no, I'm going to kink university.
And especially people who have like engage in like dominant submissive relationships, they'll have like mentors and people who like teach them and show them literally all the ropes.
How does one qualify to become a mentor for that?
Literally the ropes.
They get
they would have to be
they teach
trained.
them the ropes.
Yeah, they get trained up to the point that they would be able to then train other people. Yeah.
How do you think also that you like realize that you're into that? Because I feel like it's
people wouldn't even know.
It's like what? One day you're just like, you know, I'm really into that. I want to get tied up by the roof and, you know.
Yeah, I guess it depends. Like, it could be from watching porn and you're like, oh, I'm intrigued by that. Meeting somebody who introduces you to it. I feel like that happens a lot of the time. Like, you meet a partner and this is what they're into and they teach you about it. And I guess just self-exploration, like just trying different things. I don't know, it's kind of hard to answer because it's really different for everybody.
Well, on that, you mentioned porn. Do you, like, what's your stance on that? Because I know that there's a very big, nowadays, push against porn and even, like the no-fap stuff for boys and everything, and how it can lower testosterone and even apparently, like, bone density. What do you think of, like, porn, especially considering it's, like, a big problem with porn addiction? It could be, like, super crippling for people. Like,
and also just how porn portrays
that's another thing.
It's like very...
I've heard from a few girls that I've known that their like first time was really unenjoyable because of like boys who had just watched porn and then think that that's reality. So they like do things that isn't real. Like, what do you think of porn?
It's a massive question. I think porn, we have to remember like porn is literally, it's a fantasy played by actors. Like it's not real life. And I think the problem isn't necessarily with the porn, it's with our lack of sex education to know that what we're watching isn't realistic, and to actually be shown how sex should look, and all the different sexual scripts that are out there, because porn very much follows the same script. It's like, you know, especially in heterosexual porn, like maybe the guy will go down the girl, but generally she'll give him a blowjob for like 10 minutes and then they're straight into penetrative sex. There's no talk about like desires and like boundaries and consent, condom use, even lube, like all of that's out the door, and it's very like hard and fast. So if you have had no sex ed and you're just watching this, like you're obviously going to think that this is like what sex is, which obviously isn't accurate. So it's harmful in that sense if you haven't been given the tools to understand that it's not right. It's also like if it's harmful, it's harmful in the sense that like if it's starting to stop you from going to work, hanging out with your friends, having a shower, it's starting to like affect your daily function and doing stuff, then that's obviously a problem. Which I guess is that more like porn addiction. So I guess that's when it's an issue, but then it can still be beneficial in that like if it helps you build desire before you go to like masturbate, like absolutely. And you understand that what porn is and what it is for you, and it kind of, that's all it is, if that makes sense, then it's not necessarily harmful. I guess it's just really how you use it. But there's also a lot more ethical porn out there now. Like there's a lot more porn that's for vulva owners and their desire, and you can pay for porn that's like really great and it has everything that porn should have in it and is a lot more realistic. But obviously a lot of people are just Googling Pornhub instead.
I think they should just put at the start, like, you know how in drinking videos on YouTube you have to put like, this is done by a professional, it's not real, whatever.
Or like
Yeah.
gambling ads.
They should just have like at the start of them, like, this isn't real, just... Because I know for a lot of people, myself included, that's like the first time you ever see like sex.
It is.
Yeah, and you get
And it would
shown
be
it in like primary school by one of your mates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so impressionable for young people when they're watching that. They think, oh,
Yeah.
this is what it needs to be like when I have sex. But
Mm.
it's not the case.
No,
So
that's
for all the
why-
listeners out there,
I wouldn't know, but...
No, that's why they need sex ed in like primary school and earlier. Like actually start, like obviously age appropriate, but because the reality is we're going to be exposed to these things, and
Especially
if we're not,
now with AI.
Oh.
I mean, not AI, what am I saying? The Apple Vision goggles.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
your kids
They
will
were
be
just going to be
chucking
in the
those
room
up.
with them.
Yeah, you will. It's
Like, you're going to be the fucking stepsister stuck in the washing machine.
okay, we should move on to some questions because we have prepared a fair few
fucking lot of
questions.
questions.
Henry, do you want to kick us off?
Yes. How commonly should people be getting STI or STD checks?
Yeah, so generally after every partner, but there's also like a time period between when you have sex with somebody as to whether it will show up. Like chlamydia and like gonorrhea is like 2 weeks, HIV is like 3 months. So generally every 3 months, but also it's like good to get into the habit of it after every sexual partner, but obviously it depends.
If you're in
how
a
often.
relationship, do you think that it's necessary to still do every 3 months?
You might push it out to maybe like every 6 or 12 depending, but I generally still would. Obviously because sometimes there's that delay, and yeah, generally still, and like sometimes people get inaccurate results, like all testing isn't always right. And obviously like, not that I'm saying you shouldn't trust your partners, but you just like never know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so you're saying that these partners ain't loyal.
Well, I mean,
And
like,
everyone should worry.
even in like my case, for instance, like I got chlamydia twice off the same partner, but we were together, but they didn't get like treated properly. Like you just like,
And
you know
everyone,
what I mean? Like,
even though I know chlamydia is like, it's like, yeah, you get it and you take the antibiotic and it's gone. Everyone listening, there's like someone that I heard of that had it and didn't know they had it for like 12 years and now they can't have kids.
yeah, well, that's like
Yeah.
because mine turned into pelvic inflammatory disease. So like that was a genuine concern, but everything was fine when they like did the surgery.
Yeah, but guys know when they have it.
No.
Isn't
No.
it,
Oh,
isn't it
really?
less common for it to show up in guys?
Yeah, so
Oh,
like
what the fuck?
80% of people will be asymptomatic, which means they won't have symptoms. So like
Ah,
literally
there you go.
basically all STIs when you
Ben's
first
like, oh,
contract
shit.
yeah, get tested.
No, I've been tested recently. I'm all good.
Yeah, generally most people won't have symptoms with really honestly any STI. Basically all of them. They'll
Fuck, I
have-
didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
Oh, well, there you go. It pays to get tested. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a question for all the people that haven't had sex, like Henry, or it's their first time having sex with a new partner. What are some things that they can do to make sure that A, they enjoy, and B, that their partner is feeling comfortable and safe?
Definitely communicate. I think that's honestly the only thing you can really, really do to make them comfortable. Like ask them what makes you feel most comfortable in this situation. What do you like? What do you not like? If they're not sure, get out there's like yes, no, maybe lists out on the internet. And you can like go through a list and be like, okay, like what's an absolute yes? What's a maybe depending on the context, and then obviously like a hard no's. And communicating from the start to the finish, even in the middle, even if it feels awkward, and then afterwards. So getting some constructive criticism, like what did you like, what did you not like, and aftercare. Aftercare is really important. So whether that's obviously like asking them how do you like to receive aftercare. If it's their first time, obviously they might not know, but whether that's cuddling or going up and getting them a glass of water, a towel, having a shower together, not just like getting up and getting your phone or whatever. Yeah.
Very well answered.
I think I know what you're going to say to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How much sex and how often like is too much and unhealthy? And I think that you're going to say if it starts to affect your daily life, but is there like, say you're someone who, like Henry, doesn't have a job and you don't have any commitments.
Jeez, Henry's coughing.
I know. A version with no job.
It's only up from here.
Or just say that you have a very flexible job. You're a really rich business owner and you don't have to go to work, like Henry.
Yeah, that's better.
And he has all this time in the day. And he could it's not going to affect anything. Is it like there's a point where it's like this is just not healthy, or like is there a number? Because just give me a number.
There's no number.
Oh, shit.
Like you could have sex 5 times a day, but I guess the thing would be that when you do get employed, if that was to ever happen, are you going to be like, fuck, I'm not having sex, like I can't cope with this? Like there's not really a number. Either way, like there's, whether that's, like people always want to know how much sex should I be having, and it's like as much as feels good for you. And it's even like when you're looking at the other way, like not having sex as often, like even if you could have sex every day, or would you rather have like, you know, sex once a month but it's the most mind-blowing sex every single time, whereas the every day is just going to be really average? Like what would you prefer? Like it's not really, I guess, the quantity, more the quality.
Probably every day. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, I have another question. Is it bad, even if you're using protection and you have lots of different sexual partners, can that be a bad thing, or is that just like live your best life?
Yeah, are they full? Is it like 100% protection with a condom or not?
I think it's 98 or something.
It's like 99.
Yeah.
So it's not even worth it.
Nah, be a slut. Run it up.
Was it mega ho?
Yeah, be a mega ho like me. Go to uni and like go all out.
Yeah, awesome.
Make it your whole life.
I feel very inspired now.
I've got another one about masturbation, but for women. If a woman uses like a vibrator frequently, does that make her insensitive to normal sex and make it harder for her to climax whilst having sex?
That is a great question.
Thank you.
Not necessarily. So you can definitely get more accustomed to a certain way of pleasure, especially if you're like masturbating the same way every time. Like you're literally lying in the same position, the same type of porn, the same process from start to finish.
That's every guy ever.
Yeah. So, like
and
you
they just have this look of regret.
The VR thing on. The new Apple.
God, I can't wait for that. Just like when you take that off and you're just all sad.
Your mum and dad will just like walk in the room and see the goggles like, oh, I'm just going to leave it.
The goggles and the tissues.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
But you kind of like wire in your brain then to be like, okay, this is going to be the easiest route to like an orgasm or whatever. When it comes to like vibrators, you're not going to damage anything or like damage the nerves there, but you definitely might find that the more you use it, maybe the more intensity you need. But it really depends how you're pleasuring yourself. Like if you're always taking the time to turn yourself on and not just like putting it up to max speed straight away, you're probably not going to run into that issue.
Yeah, that's good. Because I think, like, I'm not sure about you guys, but
girls
that I know, like, have always, like, I've been told, like, oh, don't use vibrators. Like, girls are like, they're scared to use them because they'd be like, oh, I don't want to not be able to come when I'm having sex.
I feel like there's a very big stigma around women masturbating because whenever I've asked a girl who I'm not super close with, they'll always say no, and it's not till you get really like close to someone that they'll say yes, and then they're like, oh, every girl does, but I'm like, well, every single other girl said that no, they wouldn't dream of it.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is, that women are typically more embarrassed to admit it than boys who would just openly talk about having VR fucking headsets on?
They're awake.
I feel like it's probably just like a stigma thing. Like they've grown up with like that girls can't talk about that kind of stuff.
Because I didn't even think that it was like possible for women to do until I was old enough. When I was like, you know, like of the age where I was like, oh, obviously. But when I was like a kid, I was like, oh, that doesn't happen. So, you know, I don't know.
Definitely society, and like obviously in like primary school, high school, you hear boys always talking about having a wank and stuff, and like girls aren't having that conversation. But I think another difference as well is like, as somebody with a penis, you can see it in front of you and you can see it get erect and you can be like, oh, and like you can touch it and play with it and do whatever and like that feels good. Whereas for a lot of like vulva owners, you don't just see it, if that makes sense. Like it's not just obnoxiously there, and we're not taught how to know when we're aroused. Like if that's being wet, we're not just constantly putting our hands down there to like have a feel and you know to know. So I think that's another thing. It's not just necessarily like as in our faces to do it, if that makes sense. But then I know literally like every girl I've honestly spoke to that is, you know, close enough to have this conversation. Like, I've heard the corners of the couches have absolutely copped it, like growing up, like teddies, like it's happened. We just don't.
Corners
we
of the
don't-
couch.
Yeah.
I feel like they
Whatever-
portray that in movies a lot, like with like a certain like stuffed teddy bear or some shit. They always be like, oh, don't touch that one.
Yeah, literally, or like a pillow.
Yeah.
Like I remember that as a kid, like being at a sleepover and the girls were like the pillows and like so it was a thing, but like we don't talk about it.
You said
Fair enough.
before about for guys it's more in your face, like when you get a boner.
Yeah.
Why do guys just get random erections? Do you know?
Yeah, so you guys are on like a 24-hour hormone cycle. So you have random fluctuations of testosterone. So that's one reason, especially like during the day and stuff. And then at night, this is going to be like sciencey, your parasympathetic nervous system kicks in, which is what like has to be a part of the process of when you're getting an erection. So you'll have like up to 5 a night, which is good and like healthy if you ever notice that like you're not waking up with an erection or getting them throughout the night. It's probably like a good time to go to the doctor because it's like linked to your cardiovascular health.
Good, because I've had some boners in some weird places. And
Yeah,
I
I
was just
could
like, what
imagine.
is going on? But that's good.
This is slightly personal, so you absolutely don't have to answer, but I'm just curious. Since you're a sex expert, sexologist, sex scientist, older sister advice giver of sex, sex coach,
etc.
Go one more.
sex referee, does it make you when you're in your own personal life having sex with someone like hyper analyze them and kind of just you're like, I'm trying to think of an analogy to give. Like if you're an expert at kicking the footy and someone comes over and they're kicking the footy and you're just judging everything they do and like you just want to coach them. You want to teach them how to kick the footy. Is that something that you find happens to you? And again, you don't have to answer. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I've got the notepad out. I'm there writing my notes, doing like, hang on, wait a second, I've got to write
Got
that
the
down. That's
whistle.
interesting. No, not really, to be honest. Especially like at my age, 23, like the sex is pretty consistent to how it's looking among everyone I'm like having sex with. It's more like your open-mindedness and your curiosity, and I'm always gonna ask after sex, what did you like, what did you not like, or what are your turn-ons, turn-offs? And if you can't give me an answer, that's when I'm like, oh, like seriously, like
I feel like I can just see you with like when you're done, you just have like a clipboard with like a sheet. And like, can you just fill this out?
No, it's like a full press conference. Like, so what did you think on your performance?
Oh god.
That was a good answer though.
Yeah, that was a good
yeah.
answer.
Well, like, personal question back to you is, do you guys know your turns on and offs? Like, if I was to put you on the spot, like, what turns you on?
I feel like I have a good idea. I'm not going to answer it on the podcast, but I feel like I've definitely tried some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely know like when with different sexual partners, like what I like from them and what I don't like,
Yeah.
and have told them like, oh, this is what I like and you should keep doing that.
Yeah, that's good.
What about, because this is something that I don't even care about saying this because fuck it. But like, I feel like a turn off for me sometimes is when girls are like overly loud.
Mm-hmm.
And like, how do you tell? Because obviously I've never once said to someone when that's happened, which is very rarely, like, that's kind of cringe and turning me off. How would someone go about being like, oh, can you just shut up? Like, what's the nice way to say that with? Because I feel like they'll just take offense, or like vice versa. If a boy is loud and a girl doesn't like it, or whatever the situation. Like, how do you tell someone that they're turning you off?
I guess in that scenario, I'd probably want to have centered around what turns me on and be like, I really like connecting with you, and when I want to connect with you, like, you know, if it's too loud or there's too much noise, like stimulation, it kind of distracts me. So like maybe turning it around, not being like, I don't like that, change it, saying this is what I do like, which is obviously a bit more like silence, and letting them, I guess, know that. Or if they're vocal in the sense of like dirty talk, being like, just be honest, like tell somebody if you're not into that, because like some people absolutely aren't.
Maybe the compliment sandwich. You give them a compliment and then tell them that you don't like this, and then another compliment.
So you just answered your own question.
Well, that made me think of it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I just thought of something then, and this is for me, but for I feel like a lot of guys out there. I never really know what to say during sex. Like dirty talk or just talking in general is something that I'm like, fuck, I don't know if I need to get better at or if it's something that I should be doing. Like, is there like, I don't know, a cheat sheet or like...
No, you've got to pay for a coaching.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm just trying to get free lessons.
Plug your coaching.
Yeah.
I'll tell you and anyone else who wants to know.
I feel like the easiest way to start with it, because it's kind of awkward. Like, it really is for anybody, unless you're just naturally good at it or, like, don't feel awkward in that sense. But, like, probably just starting with, like, I don't know, like, how does that feel? Or do you like this? And, or letting them know when you like something. That's probably, like, a good start before you jump into the, like, more, like, I don't even, there's so many examples out there I could hear. But I'd probably start with that.
How does that feel? Shit. Oh, fuck.
I'm going to go back to the couch.
Yeah, so we got some fan questions for you.
Half of them were the stupidest things I've ever read in our entire life.
I can imagine.
Like,
hold on, I'll get one up. That was horrible.
We were treading on eggshells because we wanted to obviously make sure we're being respectful, but you're cool, and I feel like you'll see the funny side of this thing so far.
This is one that just shows how dumb our audience is. I smoked about 50 cones of DMT, and now my dick doesn't get hard. What do I do?
Probably stop smoking DMT.
I bet that kid's like 13 as well, so this will be funny.
All right,
we did get 2 really good ones.
2 out of how many?
2 out of hundreds.
Yeah, it was
And the rest
horrible.
were just
They were like, what would happen if a bear fucked a zebra and shit like that? Like just
dumb.
Or just like, how do I stop fucking your mum down? Shit like that.
You guys, fucking mature.
Grow up. Get some fucking class.
All right, this is one from. Wait, do we read out their names?
Yeah.
This is one from.
I can just say Josh.
Yeah.
well,
He'll probably be like, fuck, I
Probably
didn't
don't
say
put his
that.
whole hand.
Right, from Josh. Best position to start with.
Best position to start with.
But you can't say missionary.
Well, it's kind of hard because
Missionary's elite. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Yeah.
Missionary's great.
a lot of people love it, but they get scared to say they love it. It's kind of hard because it's like, who's he having sex with? And like, you know what I mean? Like, it's different. Like,
Let's
if I'm making
assume
this
for argument's sake that it's a girl.
argument's sake for a girl, honestly, the best one to start with, it's hard because it's not just like an actual position. Like, what do they like? Like, that person might hate missionary. Probably one that is going, like, allows you to start slow and control the pace and isn't going to be too much too quickly. Like, something like doggy can be like a lot of stimulation and pretty intense. So starting, like, obviously missionary is a bit like, you don't want me to say it, but like, you can control the depth a bit more and it's not as intense, but don't pull the legs up, like, none of that. Like, save that for later. But yeah, honestly, I feel like missionary is a great start. Or like, or like spooning, if you're like, depending, like spooning from behind. But honestly, like, it depends on what your partner likes. Like, starting with what they like the most, to be honest. Like, because any of the positions I just listed, like, they might hate all of them. So,
is it true? I just thought of this then. Is it true for a girl to climax when she's on top?
it's generally the easiest way for a vulva owner to climax when they're on top because they can control the depth and everything, and it stimulates their like G area. However, only 20% of vulva owners will climax from penetration. So you really need to be focusing on the clitoris.
And a vulva owner, for those listening, I'm assuming
isn't a vulva owner.
Yeah, it's not someone with a Volkswagen Golf. It's a person who has a vagina.
Yes, I just say that because obviously most inclusive way to say it, and you should refer to it as a vulva because that's what basically all the area is, except for some reason it got lost in translation and they made it all about the vagina, which is literally like the
I thought it
part.
was just a nickname.
No, it's literally,
like
that's generally,
nickname.
it's like your penis. It'd be like, so like, same with like a penis.
It's actually called a doodle.
Yes, yeah.
If you haven't figured out by now, we're probably the most immature people you'll meet.
No, that's fine. I like that though.
Yeah. But also our audience is clearly fucking immature and need to hear it.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're all learning as one.
All right, there's another one that came in from, sorry, I had this up.
My mum.
Max, and he said, is masturbating to your imagination better or worse than to porn?
Great question.
Depends. If you can only now masturbate with porn and you can't do it with your imagination, then maybe you might want to pull back on the porn. But there isn't one that's necessarily better or worse, because you could start having like only be able to masturbate to the same, imagination. Like it has to be your neighbor every single time, or you can't get off. Yeah. Like, so it just depends, like in your flexibility with it, I guess.
My kind of follow-up question with that is, do you think, like, where do you stand on like the whole no fat movement and it being like kind of a Sigma male thing now? It's like, don't have a wank because it increases your testosterone, and like wanking's like fucking, whatever. Do you think that there's benefits to that? Do you think that it's dumb and that you should just do it? Like, where do you kind of stand on it? Because my thing is, even if you didn't do it, surely you're still going to have like wet dreams all the time in that case, and it would be like not worth it.
I guess I feel like the community is more harmful than anything. Like, it's not even just the like not masturbating, it's like the community that comes with it and all their other ideas and what they're trying to make, real men look like and what masculinity should look like. So I think the whole movement has its own issues. Whether you want to masturbate or not, it's honestly like personal preference. Like, yes, there has been studies that show that you'll have higher testosterone, but that's obviously probably comparing extremes of like somebody who doesn't masturbate at all to somebody who's doing it like 5 times a day. Like, yeah.
You spoke before about kinks and the kink community. What would you say is some of the most common kinks that you see and like the least common ones?
Definitely feet. People love their feet. That's probably like really common. Also like anything within the BDSM community is super common. The less common ones are
BDSM. Sorry for those listening. What would that mean?
What does it stand for? Yeah.
Bondage. I know. Wait, bondage, submissive.
Beers during sex.
BD.
Mates.
Yeah.
BD. Oh yeah. Wait. Bondage, dominant, submissive, and what's the last one?
Masochism.
What's that?
So it's
masochist.
How do you not know what that means?
Okay, producer Zach apparently knows what it means. Sorry.
He's a part of the kink community.
Like, wait, I've seen Zach at the dinners.
Because so it's like sadist. I always pronounce these wrong. Sadism, and masochism. So masochism means like you enjoy having pain inflicted on you, whereas the sadism is you like doing it to others.
Right. Okay, so sorry, back to what you're saying. The BDSM is very common, and feet.
The other
and
kinks.
feet, and then like the least common ones. Honestly, everything's a kink. Like you Google it. Like I remember hearing something like, if it's not in porn, it doesn't exist. Like there'll literally be a Frank Green drink bottle kink. Like there's a kink for everything. So the least common ones, it's kind of hard to answer because it's just like
so out there.
Like honestly, think of the most like random thing and there's a kink for it. Like I'm literally, this week's podcast episode is on belly button kinks because I had a listener write in. They're like, I have a belly button kink. Oh no, I don't. Their girlfriend does.
More for outies or innies?
Innies, you can do more with an innie. Trust me, I did my research. You can do a lot more with an innie.
Like take body shots with tequila.
Yeah, and like put food in there and penetrate it and stuff.
Sorry, I mean not judging anyone.
Yeah, don't yuck their young.
It's a safe space.
Yeah, right.
Like, did you say penetrate the belly button?
Yeah, like
with
you could
food in it.
Or not, you could do both at the same time if you wanted, but like you could use different like sex toys or like obviously like your finger or your tongue or something to like penetrate it. Depends on their belly button structure.
So if you're someone, say I have a really out there kink that is very niche, I think, and I'm like, I can't talk to anyone about it because I don't feel comfortable, but I really want to explore it somehow. What would you tell me to do? What should I do?
So if you want to explore it, it'd be finding ways to do it in a safe way that you feel comfortable. Whether that's watching porn, reading books, certain movies, going to like joining kink communities online. Like there's different groups, like FetLife is like a really big one, where you can go on there, meet other people, talk to them online, go to their workshops if there's one for it.
You'll see Zach there.
Yeah.
Running them.
Or like a meetup. They do like meetups. And probably engaging in that way, and especially on the online community, then you might find somebody else. It depends if you want to practice it with somebody else or just on your own. But you can find like other like-minded people. So generally online, because obviously the more like niche and like unique your kink is, the less people who are probably into it.
Fair. We have asked you heaps of questions, but I'm keen. Did you have any for us that you wanted to ask us?
Any
to
questions?
get our thoughts on like, I don't know, just anything.
Like 3 stupid boys that are just like,
Yeah.
don't know.
I guess
Now
what
she's psychoanalyzing.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking,
we're all
let's see.
nervous now.
I'd love to know, what does like the ideal sex look like to you?
Benny, Lee, take us away.
Probably just with someone you love, like really intimate.
Go into more detail than that. Come on, Benny.
Describe the person.
Your mum. No, I don't know. Just like a safe space where you're both comfortable and you both know what each other like, and you're doing that.
With someone that you've like been with for a while, that you know what people like and don't like.
And I feel like for everyone, I don't know, me as well, is like sex is always better when you know the other person is really enjoying it. So like that would probably be the big
And
thing.
I'd say an environment that's kind of like, if it's, you get the vibe that it's like very unadventurous or non-adventurous, whatever the word is, and like you kind of feel like you have to be, it's more of like a routine, and it's like something you're going through, like it's like a workout, not so much a like explorative experience with someone that you actually are like connected to some degree. Like you don't have to always just have sex with someone that you're dating and in love with. Like just anyone that you kind of have somewhat of a connection with, or someone that you hate. Doesn't really matter.
Even like a one-night stand can be sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
So pretty much the toilet stall of a local RSL.
Love it.
I want to answer more questions. We never get interviewed.
Yeah.
Don't you? Yeah, well, I'm curious.
Sorry, we're putting you on the spot here.
No, because very much, because like you're all 23, and
I'm
like
20.
guys.
Henry's not.
Oh, how old are you? 20. Oh, the baby.
But he's still a rich business owner who has heaps of time in the day.
I guess like what your sexual, because I call them sexual scripts, which is like what you kind of do from start to finish, because I feel like a lot of guys in their early 20s very much think that sex should follow the same script of, you know, especially if they're having sex with like women, you know, like I'll finger them, maybe go down on them, then I'll get a blowjob, then we straight to penetration, we do these 3 positions like missionary, doggy and them on top, and then I come and that's it. And sex ends as soon as the erection's gone. Like.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point, because I feel like for a lot of people, it does kind of become a routine, and like you're like, oh, well, I don't want to be someone who's like got all these kinks and into this explorative stuff, so I'm just going to do what I know. And I feel like that sometimes a lot of people just get stuck in their ways, and like they just do what they know, which can lead to like them, like when they have other partners, kind of not satisfying them. Whatever, just some thoughts from little old Dale over here. But I don't know. I don't really think I have a sex script. I think it's pretty...
in the moment.
Yeah, in the moment. Like sometimes you'll like give or receive head, and sometimes you won't. Like I feel like it's just kind of dependent on the circumstance. Like whether it's like if you're in a relationship with someone and then like you communicate something you like, or if it's like a one-night stand, then I don't know, it can really just be anything.
Yeah.
Either you have...
No, I agree.
I agree with that. I feel like there is a bit of a script in a way where it's like,
I feel like it has to kind of go in a certain order.
But it doesn't.
But that's what I'm leading to.
Yeah.
Is how can you break that sort of thing that it's like you start kissing and then you start like getting handsy and then you start, you know what I mean? How do you break that like lineal progression that it always seems to go through?
I feel like someone would have to show you, wouldn't they? Like with a new partner, or if you're in a relationship, like.
Or
many
like
people
you
are.
watch the podcast and you go home to your girlfriend and you're like, let's try this out.
But don't you think it kind of, to a degree, has to go in that sort of order?
No, absolutely
Because
not.
you can't start with sex and then go back to just like...
Foreplay.
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely. Or out of... Yeah, absolutely you can.
but then how... But isn't it
just
bad if you go
unexperienced
straight
though.
into sex without starting with foreplay?
yeah, don't just shove it in. Don't
Yeah,
do that.
See, that's what I was
Do
saying.
not.
yeah.
Unless that's what they're into, don't do that. So I think the thing is we center what we think sex is around penis and vagina penetration. So it's all around like sticking it in. But you can go from like foreplay to then penetrative sex, then back to that, or like I very much like question for you guys, I guess, like once you orgasm, sex, is that when sex is done?
Well, not necessarily.
Not necessarily, yeah. It depends on the person, but
sometimes you.
I'd probably say majority.
I don't know what
of
the
time.
word. I don't know what the right word is, but is it like finishing a girl off?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah. I've done that sometimes, but normally,
on you, Betty.
normally it always ends when like after I come.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's
Which
like
is most guys. I feel like I don't. That's not like a out there thing to say.
no, absolutely not. That's what I typically see is like once a guy orgasms, it's done. But like it doesn't have to be like that. Like we're very much taught that that's how it goes. So I guess that's why I like brought it up is like to challenge the way that you are having sex, so that once you orgasm, it doesn't have to. The pleasure and fun doesn't have to end there. Like, yes, you do go into a period where you might not be able to be erect, but like you don't need an erect penis to engage and play with somebody. Like you've got your whole body. Like it's not just about your.
I think it's more like it's such a like for boys, it's such a like release that you're just like kind of exhausted and not in like you don't want to do it more often than not. It's not like like you would for someone else, but for your whole desire and sort of reasoning for wanting it, I feel like instantly goes away, which I don't think is something that girls sort of experience. Obviously, I'm not a girl, so I don't know, but like because it's like.
Well, it's your refractory period, so like it's not when you're like afterwards. It's where like sexually you can't really get aroused again, but obviously it depends how long that lasts, and obviously the younger you are, typically the shorter that period is. But like like once you get to like the older you get, the longer that period gets. So like once you get into like above 50, sometimes you need literally like a full 24 hours before you're like capable of like getting an erection and like properly aroused again.
Damn.
But you can from the like the like male sex coaches and sexologists I've spoken to, it takes a bit, but you can definitely like tap into this ability, because like ejaculation and orgasm are not the same thing. They're two separate things. They just happen really close together. So you can like there's people out there who can train themselves to be able to orgasm without actually ejaculating, so they can keep going.
Really?
That's fucked.
Yeah.
God.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
but
a
they
whole
don't
world
teach
out
you that in school, that like it's actually two different things.
Wow.
Producer Zach wants us to wrap up, but I do have one more question, and
Yeah.
this is something that I feel like all guys want to know: is how do you last longer? How can you teach yourself to last longer in bed?
Yeah. So it's
Because I need to know.
Everyone listening, sitting in their car going, when are they going to ask it?
yeah, I did a whole podcast on this. I came up with 10 different things, but off the top of my head,
Oh,
Just
so
give us the
don't
best
answer.
one. Just
Don't
give us the
answer.
best
Just
one.
say listen to the podcast.
Give us the best one.
best thing to do would be to last longer is kind of like a start-stop method. Like if you feel like you're going to come, stop, focus on your partner, pleasure them for a little while, get back to it, or change positions. Changing positions can be good. That would probably be my one tip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or think about dirt. Well, yeah, I think that's a perfect time that we can wrap this up. I hope that
to
everyone.
finish this up.
Oh.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Nice.
Thank you.
Let's finish this off and let's see how many of those we can make. Yeah. Well, I've definitely learned.
Thank
a
you
lot.
for coming.
I'm-
Sorry, I had to.
Yeah, no, well, I think that it's very admirable what you're doing because, like you said, it's something that I feel like a lot of people can be embarrassed about, and especially at a young age, there's not that much information that's readily available that's not wrong. And it's not something that people are comfortable really talking about. Like, I wouldn't talk to my older siblings about it when I was a kid, and I don't think that that is going to change with families for a while. So, yeah, it's very good what you're doing, and it's very nice that you would come talk to 3 very immature boys about it. And
Yeah, I learned
an
heaps.
extraordinarily
Well,
that's good.
immature audience. So yeah, everyone listening, you should go listen to That's Orgasmic, and you can learn the other 9 ways not to come fast. Because you're like, maybe I was trying that already, and it's not working for me. I just keep coming in 2 seconds. So go listen to the other 9 ways. Yeah.
What's
well,
your
thank you.
Instagram? Plug your.
Yeah,
Instagram-
plug your stuff. Do a
Yeah,
little.
so my Instagram is That's Orgasmic, same as my TikTok, it's That's Orgasmic Podcast. Obviously, podcast is called that as well. And then my business is Emily Duncan Sexology, and I do online sex coaching sessions for individuals and couples all around Australia and the world as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so
'Much.
much for coming on and your
Thank
time.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
was
That was
awesome.
lovely.
Great to meet you.
Well done.
I can't believe you actually pulled through, and we really did have a sexologist named Emily from the That's Orgasmic podcast just on the podcast.
Yeah, I just like setting up stuff, and I knew you wanted to ask those questions about your sex life and everything. And
I learned a whole heap. Like that was actually a really informative and fun podcast to do.
Can you rate my growl?
6.
Wow, that one was the worst. Oh, that was good.
Hey, all right. That'll wrap us up for today. Thank you all very much for listening and watching our first ever YouTube version of the podcast.
Like the video.
Make sure to go and fucking re-listen to the other episodes, the earlier ones, because we feel like we provided you with some good value. And we had to talk about very embarrassing things like boobies and sex. So
go listen to all of Emily's podcasts that she's put out, and That's Orgasmic on Spotify. Everything else where you listen to your podcasts. Follow her Instagram. That's Orgasmic.
Follow our Instagram.
Yeah.
Follow our Instagram. Sunsesh Pod. You're going to have to edit these letters individually, Zach. SUNSESHPOD.
That'll be backwards on the screen.
SUNSESHPOD.
No, it won't, because then wouldn't that all be backwards?
Everything's fake and life's a simulation and you're living in a pyramid scheme.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks so much for everything.
If you want a part 2...
Oh, make sure you fucking subscribe. I want a million subscribers.
Just cut me off again. If you want a part 2...
If you want to listen to subscribe,
follow my Instagram.
If you want a part 2 to the podcast that we just did, or you want to hear us on Emily's, or you want Emily on again, let us know, because I think we're all down. That'd be a fucking...
Yeah.
Send in some questions again, because you guys were shit house.
Yeah, grow the fuck up, guys.
Shout out to whoever asked the 2 questions we used.
Yeah.
2
out
of hundreds.
It's like all the shit ones were just Zach's burner accounts. All right, catch.
I'll do it. Fuck you. Fuck you.